ki Jai Om Vishnu Pad Brahmhamsa Kripa Jagacharya Stotara Krishna Sumaivesh Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Swami Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vishnu Veda Bhakta Vrinda Gaur Premanande all glories to Sadhguru Hare Krishna all glories to Sadhguru all glories to Sadhguru Hare Krishna all glories to Sadhguru devotees all glories to Shishi Guru and all Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nastatayeshu Pantreshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtiki Hare Krishna. Verse 10. 10? Canto 1, Chapter 4, text number 10. The appearance of Sri Narayana. Sasamrat Kashyapahitoho Pandulam Manavardanaha Prayopavishto Gangayam Anadrityatirashriyam Sasamrat Kashyapahitoho Pandulam Manavardanaha Prayopavishto Gangayam Anadrityatirashriyam Sasamrat Kashyapahito Pandunamavardhana Prayopavishto Gangayam Anadrityatirashriyam Sasamrat Kashyapahito So, he, Samrat, the emperor, Kashyap, for what? Va, or, Eto, reason, Pandunam, of the sons of Manavardhana, one who enriches the family, Praya Upavishta, sitting and fasting, Gangayam, and Aditya. Adirat, acquired kingdom. Shriyam, opulence. Translation and purport. Divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. He gave up everything to sit down on the banks of the Ganges and fast until death. Please repeat. He was a great emperor. And possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything? To sit down on the banks of the Ganges, fast until death. Purport. Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of the world in all the seas and oceans, and he did not take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom by his own effort. He inherited it from his grandfather, Maharaj Yudhishthira, and brothers. Besides that, he was doing well in the administration. He was worthy of good name of his forefathers. Consequently, there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. Then why he should give up favorable circumstances and sit down on the bank of the Ganges, fasting till death? This is astonishing, and therefore all were eager to know the cause. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalal Chakshuramitikam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dridati Swapadantikam Vande Kriyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsta Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Paridanasayitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padasagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsta Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Rindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tulubhyashta Sindhu Mevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunivari Paschacha Deshatarine Jai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhara Shivasade Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Just read the verse again. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulences of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the banks of the Ganges and fast until death? So who's speaking this verse? Not Shukadeva Goswami. Huh? Shaunaka Rishi. So this conversation right here is taking place at Naimisharanya, where the sages have gathered. Remember, the sages gathered to perform great sacrifice for the benefit of society. So this is the role of all saintly people, that they are not concerned about their own upliftment, their own salvation, but they are concerned for the benefit of others, for the benefit of humanity. And this is the nature of the devotee of the Lord. They are selfless in their service. They're not concerned about their own well-being. So the sages have, desiring to bestow benefit upon the world, are trying to understand from Sutta Goswami the Srimad Bhagavatam that he heard from Shukadeva Goswami. So Sutta Goswami, having heard and realized, we might hear, realize. So Sutta Goswami's qualification was that he had heard and realized or understood Srimad Bhagavatam. And thus the senior sage in this assembly, Shaunaka Rishi, is asking Sutta Goswami to speak. And so he's presenting Shaunaka Rishi a series of questions. He presented previously, earlier in this chapter, some questions about Shukadeva Goswami, the nature of his position. He asked, very interestingly, when Shukadeva Goswami went to Hastinapur, what did people think? Because Shukadeva Goswami is like, he's an avadut. He's from external vision, a madman. He's acting like he's dumb and blind and deaf and aloof to all material affairs. Walks around naked. So going to a big metropolis like Shaunaka Rishi asked about that. Then he's now transitioning to want to understand that who Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to. Audience, Parikshit Maharaj. So the Srimad Bhagavatam was a one-to-one conversation. There were millions of sages assembled to hear, but the conversation was taking place between Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit. So, Shaunaka Rishi said in yesterday's verse, it is said that Parikshit Maharaj is a first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. So this is the nature of devotee. The devotee enjoys hearing the glories of other devotees. This manifests when the heart is free of envy. So Shaunaka Rishi is a great sage. And he's saying, please tell us about him. Activities and birth are all wonderful. When we have envy in the heart, we cannot tolerate hearing the glories of somebody else. If I have envy of person A, and person B comes and glorifies person A, if I have envy, I'll feel pain. Why? Nothing was said about me, good or bad, neutral. I am removed from that circumstance. But envy in the heart, how do we know envy in the heart? Jai Shri Shri Radha Kundaya, Jai Shri Krishna Bali Sudamai, Jai Shri Nadi Bhavan, Jai Shri Shri Prabhupada. That we are not eager to hear the glories of other devotees. That is the symptom of envy. So Shaunaka Rishi, you can see, is a very advanced devotee. Because he's eager to hear the glories of another devotee. Haridas Thakur had this great nature. He kept himself away from the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the associates, thinking himself to be a fallen person. Because he was a Mohammedan, he was born in so-called low family. He considered himself unqualified to be in the Sangha of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Of course, he was most qualified. In that state, Haridas Thakur would celebrate the fortune of other devotees being engaged in mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very difficult to do. If, for example, something we can relate to. Gurudev is, having some sangha with some disciples and giving really sweet nectar and mercy and blessings. And we are on the outside looking in. What would we be happy and celebrating those devotees who were receiving such wonderful blessings? Or would we be lamenting? Why not me? Why them? Why not me? So the devotee has these beautiful qualities. They enjoy hearing the glories of other devotees. And they run away from hearing the glories of himself. They immediately turn away. They know, because if I hear my own glories, pride will develop in the heart. Pride is like a boat anchor, like a heavy weight. It will just sink me in the ocean of material existence. So this is the beautiful position. So now let's talk about this great devotee, Parikshit Maharaj. He was emperor of the entire world. Not just India, not just the South Asian continent, but of Shatadvip, all 7 islands. He was the king. He inherited this. So Parikshit Maharaj, just to remember, he is the son, who is the son of Arjuna. But he is the grandson of the Pandavas. 2 generations later. Of course, after the battle of Kurukshetra, Yudhishthira Maharaj and the Pandavas took rule of the land. And then Parikshit Maharaj inherited this rule. So he didn't even have to work for it. Srila Prabhupada writes that he did not have to take trouble to acquire such a kingdom by his own effort. He inherited it. And he was such a staunch ruler, such a perfect king. See, the kings have a great responsibility. What is the king's responsibility? To deliver all of their citizens back to Krishna. That is the responsibility of the king, of the ruling society. Engage everyone in devotional service. And the great kings like Yudhishthira Maharaj, like Parikshit Maharaj, they ruled kingdoms so perfectly that piety was manifest. And there was no disturbance in society, no evil forces, no life. We're going to read later in this chapter when Parikshit Maharaj, what brings him to the banks of the Ganga, when he was walking around his kingdom and saw, Mother Earth in the form of Dinu, in the form of cow, beaten by Kali. Right? And that beating in that dog, Parikshit Maharaj is about to kill Kali, the personification of Kali. And he said, well, I'm also the servant to the Lord. This time is coming. And he says that you don't disturb my people. So I'm just paraphrasing a little bit. He says, well, your kingdom is so perfect and everybody is enjoying spiritual life. Where can I go? I have nowhere to go. I have no association. So of course he said, where can he go? He can reside in gold. Because Kali Yuga had nothing to influence. Because of Parikshit Maharaj's perfect rule. This is the obligation of the king. To rule society so perfect that nobody engages in sinful life. And when we say Parikshit Maharaj is a great devotee, that doesn't mean he was soft. Thieves and rogues were fearful of him. They dare not commit any sinful reactions, fearing the swift and firm punishment by Parikshit Maharaj. In 4th canto, we read about Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj, as soon as he would just twang the bowstring, just make the sound from the bowstring, all the thieves and rogues would run to the forest. They're so scared. So these Rajarshis, these rishis who were in the form of kings, they were not soft. They were ironclad, iron fit against the thieves and rogues, so that they would not disturb society. And they would help propagate spiritual life. So that was the role of the king. Actually, in the passing of Prithu Maharaj, we see that this king has a great responsibility. If I tell you a statement, none of you would ever want to be king or president. You know why? The king receives 6% of the sins of his kingdom. The collective sins performed by all the citizens, he gets 6% of the sins and 6% of the pious credits. Both. Now, the king, president of the United States, of any country, how much sinful life there is. But this is the responsibility the king took. So, we see here that Prabhupada writes that there was so much facilities. Right? There was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. There were so many favorable circumstances, royal palaces, so many amenities, but huge responsibility. And Parikshit Maharaj was performing this seva of ruling the world. It is a service. It is a service. It is not a position of power and rule. It's a position of service. Service to who? Krishna. Because Krishna is missing all of his lost children. And the king's responsibility is to bring all of Krishna's lost children back to him. So the kings, they are not attached to this opulence. They're not attached to this position of power. Not attached to any of it. The only attachment is to the service of Krishna. That is their attachment. See, attachment is not bad. What is bad is our misplaced attachment. The soul is active. By nature, it is active. And thus, it will have attachments. It's natural. It's the nature of the soul. The problem is, because we are interacting with the material world, our attachments have come to the material platform. So, the devotee, their attachment is to service. But even their attachment is not to the service. Their attachment is to the pleasure of Krishna. Their attachment is not, I want to serve in this capacity. No. Their attachment is, whatever service I can do that will please Krishna, I am most happy to do. Because their attachment isn't to my position of service. Right? Parikshit Maharaj is not attached to the position of service of king. His attachment is to the position of service for Krishna's pleasure. It's a very subtle nuance. It's very important. Because when we render service, it's natural. Sometimes we get attachment, right? In doing our service, we get the elbows out. This is my service. This is my service. You know, I am rolling chapatis for Krishna, and my chapatis are a mess. And someone comes in the kitchen. Can I help? No, it's good. You can wash them. I'm rolling chapatis. I know they make really good chapatis. What I should do? Yeah, these chapatis for Krishna? Because mine are a mess. Why? Because if my attachment is to what will please Krishna, then I'll happily step aside and invite someone who can serve Krishna better. Because my attachment is not to the service. It is attachment to the pleasure of Krishna. Again, Parikshit Maharaj is not attached to being king. He's attached to pleasing Krishna. And why this is so important? Very important. Why? Because if we maintain our current mood, at least speaking for myself only, sorry, I should know about all of you. But if I maintain my current mood of service, if I were somehow to go to the spiritual world, I would say, I'm good with this place. Take me back to the material. Why? Because in the spiritual world, all the really intimate services to Krishna, all those spots are already taken. They're already taken. By wonderful devotees, all the gopis. So our position is very far, in one sense. Now, the pure devotee, they don't see that as a loss. They see that as a gain. How? Because their consciousness, what is my position in service? What is their concern? What is Krishna's happiness? So they start at the top. Okay, I can serve Krishna, or Radharani can serve Krishna. Who can please Krishna more? Radharani. Okay, then I'll assist Radharani in serving Krishna. Because she can please Krishna. Then I said, okay, well, who can assist Radharani? Lalita Devi and Vishaka Devi? Or me? Lalita Devi and Vishaka Devi. Of course, they can assist Radharani better. Okay, let me assist them. Well, who can assist them? Me or some of the manjaris? Oh, no, the manjaris, they can assist better. Okay, then let me assist them. And I make my way. Because my goal is pure at that point. Only to please Krishna. Only to please Krishna. It's a high state. This is Anyavilacha Shunyam. Shunyam. No personal motive. And then just the devotee who is serving from one perspective, we might see many degrees removed, right? The servant of the servant. Now we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and said, what? I am the Das of Krishna? I am the Das of Krishna? I am the Das of the Das of Krishna? Das and Das. I am the servant of 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 Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach us this mood. That this is the best position. And the devotee is ecstatic. There is not a feeling, oh, I am so far removed from Krishna's service. No, there is a unfettered ecstasy that is experienced by the devotee. Why? Their happiness is seeing Krishna happy. So when Krishna is happy by the exquisite service of all the devotees find ecstasy. Just like Haridas Thakur, his happiness was not being in the Sangha of the devotees. His happiness was the devotees happy. So this is the mood of pure devotional service. That my pleasure is coming from Krishna's happiness. Always searching, what will make Krishna happy in my service? What will make Krishna happy in my service? This is the mood Parikshit Maharaj takes. Again, he is giving up all his kingdom, everything. And he's going to the banks of the Ganges. And he's going to fast for 7 days. How many of us would look forward to fasting for 7 days? No sleep for 7 days. How do we know Parikshit Maharaj's great devotional quality? How can we assess? Because he was grandson of Arjuna, he must be a great devotee? No. Parikshit Maharaj gave up all the opulences of the royal palace, all the power, the prestige, the royal prasadam, amazing clothes, jewels, servants, queens, maids, all the opulence, everybody bowing to him and on his beck and call, all of that. He just walked away, not even a moment of regret. And he went to hear the glories of Krishna. 7 days and 7 nights, he heard the glories of Krishna. And he couldn't get enough. Shukadeva Goswami was wondering at some point, maybe he's getting tired. And Parikshit Maharaj says, give me the details of Krishna in detail. Don't cut any corners. This is devotion. He was attached to hearing the glories of Krishna. This is the measure of our progress, how eager I am to hear. So Parikshit Maharaj's devotional qualities are very evident. So, how many of us, I know, could sit for 7 days in Bhagavatam class? We can't barely sit for 7 minutes without our mind going there. I wonder what's for prasadam. Sunday feast today, will they serve pakoras? Oh, tomorrow I'm hungry. Wednesday I get to meet my friend. Parikshit Maharaj was in rapt attention 7 days because of the purity of his heart. So Shaunaka Rishi is so eager to understand more about this glorious devotee. So Parikshit Maharaj, very illustrious devotee. And the symptoms are clear. And why we study these persons? So that we can bring some fraction of their consciousness into our rendering of service. So what are we going to be attached to? The service or the pleasure of Krishna? Let us be attached to the pleasure of Krishna. What will please Krishna more? You know, I can say this in this assembly, but it's what pleases Krishna more? The so-called high service or the menial service? Think about it. If we are having a function in our house, right? And we ask our friends to help. And we ask our friends, oh, can you please sample all the foods and make sure it's good? Who's not ready to do that? But if I ask one of my friends, you please wash the toilets and make them clean so that my guests have clean restrooms. A very dear friend would do that service. Only a dear friend would mop the floor, would work the shoe stall so that all the guests are. Only a dear friend would do that, right? Give up their position of enjoying the party. Everyone's willing to honor the prasadam and be the taste tester. But who's willing to do that menial service? Only that who's close. And how happy the host is with that service of one who's willing to do something that is not so close. So actually, how to Krishna most? Taking the least glamorous service. Because that only someone who really loves Krishna would do. And Krishna knows. This is, my devotee is sacrificing glamorous service for me. And of course, Krishna would be pleased. No end. More than that. And I always say this, I say out of love and, hopefully inspiring. But, we see this tendency, and this happens all over the world, not just here, not being specifically, but it's speaking to the nature of the heart. In the festival times, which kitchen is more full? The deity kitchen or the devotee kitchen? Where we are cooking for the deities, or where we are cooking for the devotees who are coming to the festival? Everybody is rushing to cook for the deities and making so many palatable dishes, which is beautiful. But how many of us are rushing to cook for the devotees? Krishna's guests. What do we think on paper would please Krishna more? To cook for him or to cook for his devotees? We know it. We know, it's obvious. So, we can try to think like Parikshit Maharaj, not attached to being king, attached to what will please Krishna. Being king, he's willing to do it. It doesn't mean we run away any service. No, if that's my required service, then they'll do it. But a devotee has one emotion in service. They are equipoised. Any service they are given a sign, they are happy. Because they don't draw a hierarchy of service. This is high service, this is low service. Any service is an opportunity for me to please Krishna. So they joyfully take any service. Not just, what. And if I had to have desires, I want to serve in this way. Don't take this the wrong way. It's good to have, I like to, do this service, that's great. But as we progress, we try to carry this mood. It's not so easy. But by remembering this simple principle, Parikshit Maharaj, what was he attached to? Not the king. Let us also be attached to Krishna's service. Whatever service we are given by management, we should joyfully take and know we are pleasing. And if we are put a little back of the line, we should know, wow, I am actually pleasing Krishna even more. Even more. And not feel pain in the heart. Because if we practice here, when we go back to the spiritual world, full. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Any questions, comments? Yes?
So when are we going to find out what our service is to Krishna once we go back?
When are we going to find out what our service is to Krishna? Yeah, so we all have a Nitya Swarup, an eternal service to Krishna. Back in the day, up until the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Guru used to reveal that service to us. Like Narottam Das Thakur, what's his service? Dudh. He boils the milk that Champakakta Devi uses to make the milk sweets for Krishna. Think about it. His whole eternal service is boiling milk. And he's in ecstasy. And he would do that service in such ecstasy while he was in his plant that some hands would burn. Because in his meditation, he was boiling milk and some splash, such intent. But as Kali Yuga progresses, we are not capable of handling that information. Because what happens is, because again, we are still in the sadhaka, purifying state. If I know my specific service, then I will try to rush to that state before, because if I know I'm going to be a doctor, in 3rd grade, I can't go into the OR and perform open heart surgery. I still have to go to 4th grade, 5th grade, 10th grade, undergraduate school, medical school, residency, then I can go. But if I know I'm going to be a doctor, so if I know my eternal service, but in the impure state, I'll try to rush there without purifying sadhana. So the Guru's process, it's not revealed, nor is it so important. What's important is to continue to purify the heart through very good sadhana, very good chanting and reading. And that service is waiting for us anyways. So whether no or not, it's not changed. And it's there, we should have faith. So that's for our blessing and our benefit, to keep us from becoming a sahajya, a pretender. That's why that service is not revealed. But it is there, and we all have some service. And that service, by the way, it is our dream service. Whatever we could absolutely want in perfection, that is it. Because we were discussing this the other day. What is the meaning of eternal bliss and happiness? It means no anchorings. No more, I want this, I wish this. Meaning all your desires are fulfilled. All of your desires are fulfilled. This is the nature of spiritual bliss. No hankering, no lamenting. So whatever it is that is in the core of our heart, not right now, because right now we are still contaminated by our material conditioning. But in the core of the heart, that desire will be fulfilled. And so we can have great confidence that we will be most ecstatic in whatever that service is. Because that is our eternal position that will give us that full, complete happiness. Okay? Comments, questions?
No, one question. Nice class. There's a from especially in ISKCON, the humility we show externally, humble, right? Prabhuji and like all that we show externally, but internally, deep within the heart, there's a subtle pride, very subtle pride is there that I'm better, that right. Now, externally is different, internally is different. In deep rooted, how do we remove that kind of deep rooted, subtle anarthas?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's, we say, oh, it's just Krishna mercy. We do something and but the reality is, you're right. There's a subtle sense in it, right? So on the one hand, Prabhupada tells us, make it till you make it. It's better to be externally humble and internally prideful than to be internally prideful and externally prideful. At least externally humble is one step forward. But we should know that is not enough. We must remove this anartha of pride. And as soon as I think, I'm good, I'm humble. Right? I'm so humble that I'm humble. Right? I am the dasana. I am your fallen servant. So, the answer is on. Chant our rounds nicely. How to remove any anartha? It's by intense focus on chanting. If I want to intensely cure a disease, I have to follow the regimen very perfectly, very sincerely. If I follow the doctor's regimen casually, then it'll take a long time to cure. So the cure for the disease is simple, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, just chant. But we have to chant our rounds. The intense sincerity. And as Prabhupada taught, like a child crying, should be begging to Krishna, purify this heart. It's filthy. So many anarthas. And what's the beauty? That when those anarthas are removed, then actually the taste of bhakti comes. Why do we also have unhappiness in our devotional service? Because of anarthas. What could be unhappy about serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead? But anarthas. I did service and nobody recognized it. Pain in the heart. Even worse, I did this service and somebody criticized it. Pain in the heart. What does that have to do with my service to Krishna? Nothing. Because the anarthas are there. I'm not doing this service today. So-and-so said this about me. these are all symptoms of anarthas and art. When those go, it is bliss, unencumbered bliss in service, regardless of the circumstance. How beautiful is that? Regardless of what anything else happens, my happiness in service is like untouchable. So the inspiration to take the austerity of chanting our rounds very sincerely, putting our sadhana forth, the fruit of that is taste in service. Taste. Our taste will grow to the point where 24 hours will not be sufficient. One sets of arms and legs will not be sufficient. We'll want more and more. Right? So this pride, one, we should diagnose it. We have to diagnose pride. Because if I see it, then I can remove it. And the best way to diagnose it, and the most painful way at the same time, is to have somebody point it out to us. And that is the role of Guru. I remember I was walking with my spiritual master. And I think the first or second year that he came when I was initiated, and I was walking with him, and I was in the front of the procession, and I was right next to him. And I was so full of pride. I was so full of pride. Look at me. Look at me. Where I am. Where are you guys? Just full of it. And so we were walking, and I was so full of pride. We were walking, and there were some steps and things, and I was pointing them out to Guru. I did it twice, and then a third time. And he looked me square in the eyes and said, I can see. And then just kept walking. Thunderbolt to the heart. I mean, I was crushed. I mean, it was so, I can see. I was so, that is the role of Guru. It was I was humiliated, I was embarrassed. I slowly made my way to the back of the line and just stayed. But it was great. It was a great lesson. So if we want to remove it, it's painful. But we invite it. We invite a bright light to be shined on it. But it's painful. Yes, Mother.
My six-year guru, Radha Swami, look under desire tree, anarthas, and pride. He has lectures that will stare in your heart. He breaks it down.
You made a good point. Now, it's easy to see pride in others, but it's very hard to see pride in ourselves unless somebody points it out. But if you point out pride in somebody or some other thought, isn't that risky to?
Very risky.
You may offend him.
Very risky.
So,
but I didn't say to point out to I said you invite them to point in you.
Oh, you're right.
You make yourself in such a position that you invite feedback.
Oh.
That you make it known you like to be corrected.
So you ask.
Yeah. Because if we make it known that I don't like to be, or I respond then what happens? No one will tell me. Who loses? Who loses? We lose. So we should make ourselves in a position where we invite forget senior, junior, anyone. Why senior? Who's senior? Who's junior? There's no, everyone's senior to me. Then we'll be saved. At least you can invite the information. What you choose to do with it, then you can decide, right? It's not like you can take feedback from everybody and act on it, because someone may not have your best interest at heart or whatever. But at least we put ourselves in a position where we know we invite and relish, because we cannot see it, as you said. It's not easy to see. And then I'll comment on your other point you made. Oh, I see pride in everyone's heart. When we see anarthas in others, actually that is Krishna showing us our own anarthas. So whatever anarthas we see in others, actually we have it. So when I see, oh, this person is being prideful, I should immediately think, oh, Krishna, thank you. You're telling me I am prideful. This person is not prideful, but I am proud. So, if we are determined to break our anarthas, Krishna will facilitate them. But we have to be prepared. It's a little painful. Because our pride will get hurt. Our pride will get hurt. Yes.
What's the difference between correction and criticism?
What's that?
What's the difference between correction and criticism?
If somebody criticizes my service, right? I mean, if it was done wrong, what's wrong? Good.
Would that be a correction?
It could be a correction, but it could be a criticism, a critique. Criticism is not a bad word. It's when the intention of the criticism is bad.
It could be correction too.
What's that?
Criticism, critique. Could
Yeah,
be
critique.
correction.
Yeah. So, again, when we receive criticism, first thing, thank you. Thank you. Now, introspect. Was this what this person's saying right? Is it true? Is it? But at least first, thank the person. Thank you for correcting me. But not that, because somebody might be criticizing me out of their anartha. Meaning, out of their impurity, wanting to maybe attack, bring down, right? That could happen. So I'm not suggesting that you internalize every criticism. But you should accept it. Thank you. And then you can introspect. And you can ask someone, your well-wisher, hey, I heard this. Am I doing this? What do you think? Do you see this in me? Is this something wrong? We can take some guidance, some counsel. So we can't necessarily act on everyone's feedback to us, but we should take it and at least introspect. Is this right? Speak with people who love us, who know us. Hey, I've been hearing this a little bit. Am I doing this? Yeah, you are. Oh, thank you. Right? So, to be criticized also is not a bad thing. I remember once I was serving on the altar in Vrindavan, and one pujari, he blasted me with words I had not heard in a long time. The point where he said, you must not even read Srila Prabhupada's books. But what I did was 100% wrong.
What happened?
Hmm?
What happened?
I offered a garland to Krishna Balaram, and the bottom of the garland was covering Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's face. And so you shouldn't do that. But when I offered it, I didn't know that. So he said, you're not being attentive. You're just doing this, and and whatever, blasted. So, but it took a moment, right? It took a moment. I had to catch myself. I think, what I did was wrong. There's no two things about it. It was wrong. And guess what? Because he was so forceful upon me, I've never made that mistake again.
So sometimes it's good.
I'm grateful. He's very kind to me. Now, many years later, there's no animosity to me. But that forceful, it helped me. Never made that mistake again. So I'm not suggesting that at every time we can do that. But what we want to be mindful of this. Don't let it affect our consciousness. Right? Don't subject ourselves to beratement and abuse, and so again, you can't take it to that level, right? Where if someone's being abusive to me verbally and mentally, no, I have to extricate myself from that position. So I'm not speaking on those extremes, right? Those extremes we have to, enough's enough, and take shelter of, those who are protecting us. But in these, circumstances, yeah.
Now, the world we live in, we want to help others genuinely, but they take you wrong.
Yes.
Now, should we help them or just be quiet?
Be quiet. You can only help those who want to be helped.
By being quiet?
You can help the best way you can help that person. My dear Shishi Radha Kunj Bihari, please help this person. Honestly. Because if that person doesn't want to hear, Guru does the same. Guru will not correct you if he knows, or not give you instruction if he knows you won't follow the instruction. Why? Because that is an offense, which is worse for you. Right? So, same thing. If somebody does not want to hear from us, then we should be very careful. Because only thing we'll do is we'll disturb them. But you can pray for that person. You can pray for that person. So, not everyone is, our relationship is not in that situation where we can potentially. And again, we also have to look at our role. It may not be our role, our position. Right? So we have to assess, what is my position in that situation? And then assess. So this amanina manadena, right? It's a broad principle. I give respect to everybody. Same way. I should invite feedback from anyone who wants to give it to me. But in giving, be careful. Giving feedback, giving correction. Because not everybody wants to hear it. We should make ourselves open to it for our own benefit, because we are the beneficiary. If I am doing something wrong, and because of my past responses, I have created a situation where nobody wants to tell me anything, who is losing in that situation? I am. I am the loser. Nobody else.
So is it a helpless situation that you are helpless. You see others are suffering, but you cannot help because they don't want to be helped.
I told you, you are going to help them. When you pray to Krishna for somebody else, do you know how powerful that prayer is? Because the devotee is not praying for themselves. When you sincerely pray, when you go to Krishna, Krishna, this rascal, can you fix them? That's not praying for them. Prayer means that I'm pained by that they're having this situation that is holding them back. It's genuine concern, not I'm enjoying telling Krishna about somebody else's fault. Right? So when you pray that way, that is like best help. Because we may not be in a position, right? If you're in a management position, it's difficult, right? Because you have to tell people, because you have to function, things have to function, right? But if that's not my position, then it's very discerning when to speak. Very careful. But again, make ourselves enjoy freedom. Yes?
If it's family, you can always, or if you know enough stories out of Bhagavatam, just say this person and describe the problem that you would love to tell them.
But indirect, not direct.
Indirectly, it worked with my mother-in-law.
Give story. Example.
I would tell her about my sister, she could hear it. My sister, I would tell her about mother-in-law, she could hear it. And they kind of learned indirectly.
No, dishonor and honor, is it the ego level or the mind level?
No, it's the honor, this pride, is one of the 6 impurities of the heart.
So the mind.
The mind, the heart, it's all interrelated. Remember, lust resides in the mind, the intelligence, and the senses. So these impurities are there. And we should be eager to see them and be aware of them so that we can remove them. How eager are we to remove the bacteria and viruses plaguing the body? A little bit eager or very eager? Very eager. So we should be very eager to remove the anarthas. If removing the virus requires an injection, it's painful, right? But it's worth it. If removing the anartha is a little painful, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Right? So, don't reject the feedback. Embrace it. Invite it. Treat it with the appropriate concern. And at the same time, careful where we give it, because not everybody is ready to hear it. Right? And you can create more disturbances and more challenges. So you have to be very discerning. Very, very discerning. But again, in our own practice, so y'all can please give me some feedback and correction, because I'm fool number 1, and Prabhuji's played a big game today. You're giving class next week?
No.
Yes.
I like to listen. I think I did the right thing. You can listen for me.
No.
I know.
Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai, Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Today, seriously, how did you be so good at instructing us? It's like, wow.
Because